Tonight, as the fire burns low, and your body grows heavier with rest, we turn to another mystery of the mountains. As the fire glows softly before you, we take you to the rocks of the little people, to the paths of those who walk unseen, the Nunne'hi, the spirit people, who help lost travelers find their way. Settle a little deeper now. Feel your body sink into the surface beneath you, calm, supported, safe. Let your breath fall into an easy rhythm. In and out. Like footsteps along a forest trail, steady, unhurried. In the old mountains of the American frontier, on misty ridges and quiet hollows, people spoke of the Nunne'hi. They were said to be tall, graceful, and shining just slightly, like moonlight resting on water. Sometimes they appeared as ordinary people, dressed in the old ways. Sometimes, they could not be seen at all, only felt, as a gentle presence at your side, guiding you, when the path seemed to disappear. On a cool evening, long before electric lights and paved roads, a young woman named Willow Star set out from her village, to visit her cousins in a neighboring valley. The sky was clear when she began. The last light of the sun lay along the ridge tops, turning them a soft gold, before the blue of evening slowly took over. She walked a familiar path, one she had taken many times before. It wound between tall trees, over small streams, and along the side of a gentle slope, where ferns and moss grew thick and green. As she walked, she listened to the sounds of the forest. A thrush calling, then quiet. Leaves whispering together overhead. The distant trickle of water, slipping over stones. Each sound soothed her mind, like a lullaby played by the land itself. But as she neared the midpoint of her journey, something changed. Clouds crept across the sky, soft at first, then thicker, darker. The air cooled. The wind picked up, carrying a faint scent of rain and distant thunder. Soon, a fine mist began to fall. What had been a clear path, now grew dim, as fog rose from the ground, blurring the familiar shapes of trees and rocks. Willow Star slowed her steps. She knew these woods. But fog can make even the most familiar places feel strange. She listened for the stream, to reassure herself, but the sound seemed farther away, muffled by the curtain of mist. She looked down to see the path, but it had faded beneath wet leaves and shadow. She turned to her left, then to her right. Everything looked the same. Rows of trees, veils of fog, dim light fading toward night. For a moment, she felt a small wave of worry rise in her chest. Her heart beat a little quicker. Her breath came a little faster. She could no longer tell exactly which way led to home, and which way led deeper into the unknown. She stood very still, closed her eyes, and listened. Nothing but the soft hiss of mist, the sigh of wind through branches, the steady beating of her own heart. She whispered a quiet prayer, asking for guidance, for calm, for a way through. And then, she felt it. A presence. Gentle, quiet, but unmistakable. It felt as if another person had stepped up beside her, standing at her right shoulder. She did not see anyone when she opened her eyes. But the feeling remained. Warm, steady, patient. It was as though a friend had arrived, and simply waited, without speaking. Willowstar took a slow breath. The fear she had felt softened. Her heart eased back into a calmer rhythm. She looked ahead into the fog, and thought she saw the faintest outline of a figure. Not solid, not bright, but a slightly deeper shade of gray against the mist. The figure seemed to be standing on the path, just a little way ahead. Then, without a sound, it turned, as if to walk. And in that moment, Willowstar felt a gentle tug inside her chest. A quiet knowing that she should follow. She took one step, then another. The ground beneath her feet felt sure. Roots and stones that might have caught her sandals seemed easy to avoid. The figure ahead stayed always at the same distance. Never closer, never farther. Like a lantern carried just ahead, not so bright as to blind, but just enough to show the next few steps. The fog swirled around them, thicker in some places, thinner in others. Sometimes she thought she saw the curve of a shoulder, the length of long hair, the soft movement of a robe or cloak. Other times, there was nothing to see at all, only the feeling of being gently led. As she walked, she remembered the stories her grandfather had told, beside fires much like this one. Stories of the Nunne'hi. The people who dwell anywhere. Spirit beings who lived in the mountains, in invisible towns, and sometimes walked among humans, helping them in times of need. He had told her that the Nunne'hi often helped those who were lost in storms, or snow, or fog. They would appear in the distance, call softly, or simply inspire a traveler to turn in the right direction. They did not ask for thanks. They did not demand offerings. They simply helped, because that is what they were, helpers between worlds. As Willowstar followed the quiet presence, her worry melted further. Her shoulders relaxed. Her jaw loosened. Her breath slowed again, in and out, in and out. The forest around her grew darker, but she no longer felt alone. Time seemed to stretch. She could not say if minutes passed, or hours. She only knew that with each step, her trust grew. Finally, she noticed a familiar scent on the air. Smoke. Wood smoke. The cozy smell of a cooking fire, and the faint sweetness of corn and herbs. Her heart lifted, gently. That smell belonged to her cousin's home. She walked a little farther, and the fog thinned, then parted. There, just ahead, was the edge of the clearing. She could see the outline of a small cabin, its windows glowing warmly, firelight flickering behind them. Voices drifted through the air, soft and distant. Laughter. Someone calling a name. She stepped out from the last line of trees, onto the packed earth of the yard. She turned, wanting to see, to thank, whoever or whatever had led her there. But behind her, there was only the forest. Tall trunks, mist curling low to the ground, shadows deepening into night. No figure. No glowing outline. Only the faint feeling of a kind presence, slowly fading, like a dream upon waking. She whispered. "Thank you." Into the evening air. The wind shifted, just slightly, brushing her cheek. To her, it felt like an answer. Later that night, as they all gathered inside, Willowstar told her story. Her cousins listened closely. Her aunt wrapped a shawl around her shoulders and nodded. Her uncle stared into the fire for a long moment, then said quietly, "The Nunne'hi have walked these mountains longer than any of us. When they choose to guide a traveler, it is a blessing. Remember this night, and walk with respect, always." The fire in their hearth crackled softly. Shadows danced on the log walls. Outside, the fog continued to drift along the hills, silent and white. Somewhere in that mist, the Nunne'hi moved along their own paths, unseen, yet present, keeping watch over those who might lose their way. Now, as you lie here, listening to the crackle of your own imagined fire, you can picture yourself as that traveler. Maybe you are walking through a gentle fog, or along a quiet road at dusk. Maybe life feels uncertain at times, the path not always clear. But in this moment, imagine a soft presence at your side. You cannot see it fully. You do not need to. You just know that you are not alone. Feel that calm companionship, just over your right shoulder. Guiding you without pushing. Leading you without pulling. Simply walking with you, step by gentle step. Let your breath match that slow walking pace. In and out. Step and rest. Step and rest. With each exhale, imagine releasing a little more of your need to control the journey. The Nunne'hi, the guiding spirits, know the way. You can rest. You can trust. Your body, like a traveler after a long day, deserves to stop now, to sit beside the fire, to close its eyes. The warmth of the flames glows across your face. The sound of the burning logs, soft and irregular, lulls your mind into deeper stillness. You do not have to solve anything right now. You do not have to choose any direction. Tonight, you are simply being guided into sleep. If a thought arises, let it drift past, like a patch of fog across the trail. You do not need to follow it. Let it go. Somewhere deep within you, an ancient knowing remembers that help is always nearby. In the stories of the mountains, it is the Nunne'hi. In your own life, it may be intuition, kindness, or the quiet strength you forgot you had. All of it walks beside you. All of it wants you to rest. Feel your eyelids grow heavier. Feel your hands soften. Feel your legs sink into stillness. The guiding presence at your side smiles, unseen, and whispers without words. You are safe now. You have come far enough for tonight. Rest by the fire. Sleep. And as the crackling continues, softly, steadily, you drift, like a traveler finally home, into deep, quiet, healing sleep. Welcome to the fireside. Settle your body, let it grow heavy, supported, safe. Feel the imagined warmth of the flames on your face, gentle, steady, like a soft hand resting near your cheek. Notice the weight of whatever is beneath you, the bed, the couch, the chair, holding you without effort. Breathe in slowly, and imagine the faint scent of pine and wood smoke, sweet, earthy, drifting through a cool evening, somewhere in the old American mountains. With every breath out, allow one more piece of the day to fall away, like ash lifting from a log, glowing for a moment, then disappearing into the dark. Your thoughts can rise and float off, just like that. You do not need to hold them. You do not need to follow them. You are here, by the fire, in the quiet, and you are safe. Did you know that listening to gentle, natural sounds at night, like a crackling fire, can help your body relax by lowering your heart rate, easing muscle tension, and calming overactive thoughts? For thousands of years, people have fallen asleep beside glowing embers, feeling warm, protected, and at peace. Your nervous system remembers this, deep down, even if you have never slept beside a real fire. The sound you hear now taps into that ancient memory, telling your body, it is time to rest. Let your breath become as soft and irregular as the fire's own rhythm, sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little shorter, always gentle. Tonight, the flames throw their light on more than wood and stone. They shine on old stories, from the misty ridges of the American frontier, where the mountains roll like sleeping giants, and the valleys hold secrets of their own. In those mountains, long ago, people spoke of the little people who live in the rocks. Not in loud voices, not in fear, but in quiet tones, full of respect and curiosity. They said the little people were small, about the height of a child's knee, with eyes bright as stars, and faces lined with age and kindness. They lived in hidden doorways, between boulders, in cracks along cliff faces, and in the soft, moss-covered caves that only open to those who see with more than their eyes. And they watched. They watched the animals. They watched the rivers. Sometimes, they watched the people too. This is the story of one such watching. There was once a boy, on the American frontier, in a valley where morning mist hung low, like a soft blanket laid across the earth. You may give him any name you like, in your mind. Perhaps you call him Running Deer. Perhaps you call him Samuel, or Eli, or something simple and familiar. Whatever his name, he lived in a small cabin with his family, near the base of a long, stony ridge. Every day, after his chores were done, he loved to wander. He walked the worn paths between trees. He followed the sound of streams, over stones smoothed by countless years. He climbed, slowly, higher up the ridge, where the air turned cooler, and the world below looked small and far away. One autumn afternoon, when the leaves had turned 10 shades of gold and copper, and the air was crisp but gentle, he climbed higher than he ever had before. Feel that hillside, under your imagination now. The ground is soft with fallen leaves, a patchwork of reds, browns, and glowing yellows. Each step makes a quiet rustle. The wind moves through tall pines above, brushing their needles together, creating a soft, endless hush, like distant ocean waves. Small birds hop from branch to branch, their tiny claws clicking softly on bark, their feathers fluffed against the cool. The boy climbs slowly, not rushing, not pushing. There is no hurry in this story. Only one step, and then another. In and out. Step and rest. At last, he reaches a wall of ancient rocks. They rise above him, stacked in layers, as if some great hand placed them there, one by one, long before any house or road or tower was ever built. Some rocks are flat. Some jet out, like shelves. Some lean together, forming narrow gaps, dark and mysterious. Moss grows in patches, soft and deep, a green cushion in the cracks. Tiny ferns curl from hidden pockets of soil. The boy stands still, listening. The valley below is quiet. The wind is softer here, as if the rocks themselves are blocking the world's noise. He steps closer to one narrow gap. Cool air breathes out from it, like the exhale of the mountain. He leans in, slowly, carefully. The earth smells of damp stone, old and clean. For a long moment, he hears only his own breath, gentle, steady. Then, something else. Very faint. Like a memory of sound, more than sound itself. A tiny tapping. A faint, faint chattering. He holds his breath, and listens. The tapping grows clearer. It is like the sound of small feet, moving across stone. A soft patter, then a pause. A gentle scrape. He pulls back slightly, heart beating a little faster, but not in fear. Just in wonder. He knows this place is not empty. Then, from deeper in the gap, he hears voices. Tiny voices. Not loud enough to make out words. Not sharp or frightening. Just a soft, overlapping murmur, like leaves whispering together in a hidden corner of the forest. To the boy, it feels like listening to a language he used to know, a long time ago, in dreams. He does not understand it, but he feels its meaning. Calm. Patience. Home. He stays very still. He does not call out. He does not reach in. He simply listens, and breathes. As he stands there, a strange sleepiness settles over him. Not the heavy sleep of exhaustion, but a gentle drowsiness, like the feeling of lying under a quilt while someone tells a story in the next room. His shoulders relax. His hands fall open at his sides. His jaw loosens. His breath slows again, in and out, long and smooth. The voices continue for a while, then fade. The tapping and scraping move away, deeper into the rocks. The air falls quiet again. The boy opens his eyes fully, realizing they had half closed. He feels peaceful. Quiet inside. Not excited, not frightened, just settled, like water in a still pond. He turns and makes his way down the ridge, carefully placing each foot, watching the leaves and roots. The world feels softer now. The trees feel friendlier, the path feels more familiar. Soon, he sees the thin line of smoke from his family's chimney, curling into the evening air. The sky is turning from pale blue to that deep, velvety shade that comes just before the stars appear. He steps into the cabin, warmed by the hearth. His grandmother sits near the fire, hands busy with some simple task, her eyes bright and kind. He tells her what he heard, near the rocks. About the tapping. The soft, half-understood voices. The way sleepiness washed over him, like a warm blanket. She listens without interruption. When he finishes, she nods slowly. Her expression is not surprised. "You found them," she says quietly. "The little people who live in the rocks." She explains, in her slow, gentle voice, that the little people have lived in those mountains longer than anyone can remember. They are shy and careful. They do not like loud voices or sharp movements. They do not enjoy being chased or called or disturbed. But to children who walk softly, and to grown people who carry respect in their hearts, they sometimes reveal their presence. Not with a full appearance. Not with a face and a name. Just with sounds. A feeling. A moment of deep peace. She tells him. The little people watch over the stones, and the streams, and sometimes, they watch over us. They keep the balance. They remind us that we are guests in this land. That we must walk gently. Speak softly. And listen more than we talk. She looks into his eyes, and says, "If you return, do not call them. Do not push. Just walk quietly. And if they wish, they will let you feel their presence again." That night, the boy lies in his simple bed, near the slowly fading fire. He hears the crackle of the last burning logs. The gentle creak of wood, as the cabin settles. The quiet breath of his family around him. He thinks of the rocks. The narrow gap. The voices. He falls asleep faster than he has in many nights. His dreams are filled with moss, and stone, and tiny laughter like water over pebbles. Years pass. The boy grows. He works in the fields, cuts wood, helps his family in the ways of frontier life demands. But whenever he can, he returns to the ridge. He climbs to the ancient rocks. He never shouts. He never throws stones. He never tries to pry apart the boulders to see inside. He simply sits nearby and listens. Sometimes, the rocks are silent. Sometimes, the wind is all he hears. But every so often, when the day is just right, when his heart is quiet, and his footsteps have been gentle, the tapping returns. The tiny voices rise and fall, behind the stone. And that same peaceful sleepiness washes over him. It is like being reminded, again and again, that he is not alone. That the world is full of life, even where it looks still. That someone, or something, is tending to the hidden places, so he does not have to. Now, bring your attention once more, to your own body, wherever you are resting. Imagine that beneath the floor, beneath the ground, beneath the layer of soil and roots and stone, there are ancient rocks, layered and stacked, just like on that mountain ridge. Between those stones, In places you cannot see, there are quiet presences. The little people of your own imagination. Not to frighten, only to remind that you are supported from below, that the ground itself is not empty. It holds you like gentle hands, layered through time. Feel the heaviness of your body now. Let your shoulders sink a little deeper. Let your back rest fully. Let your hands become warm and still. There is nowhere you need to go. Nothing you need to fix. No decision you have to make in this moment. You are like the boy, sitting beside the rocks. Listening. Breathing. Safe. If thoughts arise, let them be like tiny voices behind stone. You do not need to understand them. You do not need to answer. You can let them drift into the background, soft, distant, unimportant. The only thing you follow is your breath. In, slowly. Out, slowly. Like the rise and fall of hills. Like the gentle movement of mist in a valley at dawn. The little people, in their hidden doorways, keep their quiet watch. The mountains hold their shape. The fire continues to crackle in your mind's ear. And you are allowed to rest. If your eyes are open, let them close now, or half close, in that soft, drowsy way. Feel your eyelids grow heavier. Feel the muscles in your face release. Your jaw loosens. Your brow smooths. Even the tiny muscles around your eyes soften. Your breath flows in and out, without effort. You are not trying to sleep. You are simply letting sleep come, in its own time. The little people of the rocks live their whole lives between hard surfaces, in quiet places. They know how to be still. They know how to listen. Tonight, they share that knowing with you. The story does not need a sharp ending. Like the fire, it just burns lower and lower. The pictures in your mind grow fuzzier, softer around the edges. The words you are hearing fade into a gentle hum. The rocks are steady. The night is kind. You are safe. You are warm. And you can drift now, slowly, gently, into deep, quiet sleep. Tonight, as the fire burns low, and your body grows heavier with rest, we turn to another mystery of the mountains. Tonight's tale is the story of the invisible drummers. You are still by the same fire. The same gentle crackle. The same soft warmth on your face. Let yourself sink, just a little deeper now. Feel the surface beneath you, solid, steady, unchanging. Your breath moves in and out, like a quiet tide. Slow. Easy. Somewhere beyond the circle of light, the hills roll out into the dark. Their shapes are soft, rounded, like the backs of sleeping animals. Under those hills, under the roots and rocks, there is a rhythm. Always there. Always steady. Most of the time, we do not hear it. But some nights, when the world is quiet, and the fire is low, that rhythm rises, just enough, to be felt. Long ago, in one of those valleys, there was a small cabin, made of logs stacked carefully, one on top of the other. Inside that cabin lived a family. They worked the land, planted and harvested, chopped wood, carried water. And at the end of each day, they gathered around a fire, much like this one. One of the children, a boy you may name however you like, had trouble sleeping. While his brothers and sisters drifted off easily, he would lie awake, his mind busy, crowded with thoughts. He listened to every creak in the cabin, every sigh of wind outside, every soft murmur from his parents' voices in the next room. He wished he could sleep the way they did. Quickly, gently, like slipping beneath the surface of a still pond. One night, after turning over again and again on his straw mattress, he sat up. The room was dim, lit only by the faint glow of coals in the hearth. Shadows stretched long and soft across the floor. He swung his feet to the ground and felt the cool of the wooden boards under his toes. He moved quietly so as not to wake anyone. Then he opened the door and stepped outside. The air met him, cool and moist, with that clean scent that comes after the earth has rested all day. Above him, the sky was wide and dark. Stars scattered across it like tiny embers, each one a distant, steady fire. The fields around the cabin were pale shapes, silvered by starlight. Beyond them, the line of the hills rose up, dark against the sky. He walked a little way from the cabin. The grass brushed his ankles. The night wrapped around him, like a wide, soft cloak. He listened. Crickets, playing their tiny fiddles. An owl, calling once, then again, from somewhere in the trees. The faint rustle of small animals moving through brush. These sounds were gentle, familiar. Yet still, his mind hummed. He sighed. Then, he heard something else. Very faint. Very low. Almost lost beneath the other sounds. A single, soft boom. Then silence. Then boom. Again. Slow. Even. Curious, he turned his head, trying to find the direction. The sound seemed to come from the hills, from the dark shapes beyond the fields. He stepped forward, one careful step at a time. Listening. Boom. Pause. Boom. Pause. The rhythm felt slow enough that his own heartbeat began to match it. He crossed the edge of the field and reached the base of a small hill. Its slope was gentle. Grasses and small bushes grew there, their leaves whispering against one another in the faint breeze. The boy moved halfway up, then stopped. The sound was clearer now. Not loud. Not sharp. But steady. Boom. A soft, rounded drumbeat. As if some giant hand, far below the ground, was tapping the earth with the heel of its palm. He sat down on the hillside. The grass was cool and slightly damp beneath his hands. He leaned back, resting his weight against the slope. Above him, the stars seemed closer. The sky felt deep, like an endless ocean of dark, dotted with light. He closed his eyes. The other sounds of the night faded. He focused only on the drum. Boom. Pause. Boom. Pause. With each beat, his breath fell into place. He inhaled during the pause. He exhaled on the soft, distant boom. In. Boom. Out. Pause. In. Boom. Out. Pause. The rhythm was so slow that it pulled his own body into slowness. His shoulders slipped lower. His hands unclenched. His jaw softened. His thoughts, which had been rushing and tangled, began to unwind. A question rose in his mind, but it was not a sharp question. It floated up like a leaf on water. Who is drumming? He pictured, for a moment, a circle of people, somewhere deep inside the hill. Small fires burning. Faces calm and focused. Hands moving gently on drums. Not for war. Not for dancing. But for something else. For keeping time. For keeping balance. For reminding the earth, and all who sleep upon it, to slow down. To rest. He had heard stories of the little people. Of the Nunne'hi. Of spirits that walked unseen in the forest. He had not heard of the invisible drummers. But in that moment, it did not matter what they were called. He only knew that whatever was making that sound was not there to frighten him. It was there to help him remember how to be still. As he lay there, his back against the cool hill, he imagined the drum beneath him. Deep, deep inside the earth. Beating slowly. Patiently. Boom. Pause. Boom. Pause. The sound did not hurry. It did not strain. It had no urgency. It simply continued. Like a heartbeat older than any human life. The boy's breathing grew so slow that the spaces between his inhales and exhales felt wide and spacious. In those spaces, there was no worry. No planning. No remembering of the day. Only the sense of being held. By the slope of the hill. By the sky. By the steady drum. He did not know how long he lay there. Time blurred. His thoughts drifted in and out, like clouds crossing the face of the moon. At one point, he opened his eyes. The stars had shifted. The night had grown deeper. The drum was softer now. Farther away. Or perhaps, he had drifted closer to sleep, and his ears were turning inward. He took one more breath. In. Boom. Out. Pause. Then he pushed himself up, slowly, as if moving through warm water. He stood. His legs felt a little heavy, but in a pleasant way. He walked back down the hill. Across the field. To the cabin. The door creaked gently as he opened it. Inside, the embers in the hearth glowed in a deep, rich red. Enough to show the shapes of his family, sleeping peacefully. He lay down again on his straw mattress. This time, he did not toss. He did not turn. He lay on his back, looking at the faint patterns of light and shadow on the ceiling. He could still hear, in memory, the slow drum beneath the hill. Boom. Pause. Boom. Pause. His breath followed. In. Out. In. Out. His eyelids grew heavy. They closed. And this time, he slipped into sleep, quietly. Calmly. As though the rhythm of the invisible drummers had carried him across a threshold, into another room, where rest was easy. From that night on, whenever he could not sleep, he remembered the hill. He did not always walk there with his body. Sometimes, he walked there only in his mind. He would imagine lying back on the slope, feeling the ground against his spine, feeling the sky above him, wide and accepting, listening for that deep, slow boom, pause, boom, pause. And every time he did, his breath slowed. His thoughts softened. Sleep came closer. Now, as you rest here, by your own inner fire, you can do the same. You do not need to leave your bed. You do not need to move at all. Just in your imagination, notice the ground beneath you. Imagine that beneath the floor, beneath the soil, beneath layers of stone, there is a great, sleeping hill. Inside that hill, there are drums. You do not see who plays them. You do not need to. You only feel the sound. Boom. Pause. Boom. Pause. Let your breath begin to mirror it. Inhale, gently. Exhale, slowly. No effort. No force. Just falling into rhythm. In. Out. Boom. Pause. As you breathe, notice if there is any part of your body still holding on, still gripping, still trying to stay alert. Perhaps your shoulders. Perhaps your belly. Perhaps your hands. With the next slow exhale, imagine the drum's vibration reaching that place. A soft wave of sound. Loosening. Softening. Telling that part of you, it is all right now. You can release. You can rest. Each beat of the invisible drummers is like a reminder from the earth itself that you belong here, that you are supported, that you are allowed to sleep. Thoughts may still try to rise. They may stir like small animals in the underbrush. That is all right. You do not have to chase them away. You can let them move in the background, while your attention comes back again and again to the slow drum in your imagination. Boom. Pause. Boom. Pause. In your breath. In. Out. In. Out. If you like, you can picture the drummers themselves. Perhaps they are small, those little people we have spoken of before. Sitting in a circle, deep beneath the roots. Each with a drum made of bark and hide. Hands moving in perfect unison. Faces calm. Eyes half closed. They are not performing. They are not trying to impress. They are simply keeping time for the world. Or, perhaps they are not people at all. Perhaps the drums are just the pulse of the earth. Molten rock turning slowly. Tectonic plates shifting over ages. Streams carving stone. An ancient heartbeat, far older than any story. However you see it, however you feel it, let that steady, patient rhythm be the background to everything else. Your worries, your plans, your memories. All of them can ride on top of that rhythm, like leaves floating on a wide river. The river does not strain to carry them. It just flows. You too can let your experience float. No need to push it away. No need to hold it close. Just floating. Just moving. At the pace of the drum. Boom. Pause. Boom. Pause. Notice now your eyelids. If they are still open, you may feel them growing heavier. They may want to close, or half close, and that is fine. Let them do what they wish. Notice your jaw. Let it hang a little looser. Let your tongue rest softly, in the middle of your mouth, not pressing against your teeth. Notice your shoulders. Let them sink toward the bed, or the cushion, as if they too are being pulled, gently, by that deep, slow beat. In. Out. Boom. Pause. Somewhere, deep below, the invisible drummers continue their work. They do not tire. They do not worry. They do not wonder if the rhythm is good enough. They just play. And because they play, you can stop. You can stop trying to manage everything. Stop trying to think of every angle. Just for tonight. There will be other nights for thinking. Other days for solving. Right now, the only task, the only journey, is to allow yourself to be led into sleep. The boy on the hillside eventually grew older. He learned to farm, to chop wood, to mend fences. Life brought its share of hard days and easy ones. But whenever his mind grew too full, whenever the night felt heavy, he would remember that sound. The slow, steady, boom, pause, boom, pause. Sometimes, when work took him far from his childhood home, and he slept in other places, under other roofs, he would lie down, close his eyes, and imagine that same hill beneath him. He would picture the invisible drummers, still playing, as they always had. And it comforted him to know that beneath the changing surface of life, beneath all the movement, there was something steady. Something that did not flicker and jump like his thoughts. Something that simply continued. You can borrow that comfort now. Even if the details of your own days are very different. Even if your cabin is a modern room. Even if your hillside is a mattress in a city apartment. Beneath you, there is still earth. And in your imagination, the drums can still be heard. Let them play for you, as they did for him. Let them hold the rhythm, so you do not have to. Let them be the heartbeat of the world, while your own heart slows and softens in response. Breath, drum, pause, rest. The fire in your mind's eye has burned low. Only embers now. Soft, red, glowing. They pulse with the same slow rhythm. In, out, boom, pause. If sleep has not already taken you, it is very near. Hovering just at the edge of awareness. You do not need to reach for it. You only need to stop reaching for anything else. The invisible drummers will play as long as they are needed. The little people will watch from their stones. The Nunne'hi will walk unseen paths through the fog. And you can slip quietly, gently, into deep, silent rest. Tonight, as the fire glows low and steady, we move from the deep drums of the earth to the quiet hands that heal it. Tonight's tale is the story of the little men who make medicine. You are still here, by the same warm hearth in your imagination. The flames are softer now. Embers pulse like tiny red suns, nestled in charcoal. Each slow flicker of light paints gentle patterns on the walls, or on the trunks of nearby trees. Let your body feel that warmth. Not just on your skin, but in your chest, in your belly, in your hands and feet. As if the fire's comfort is spreading through you from the inside. Your breath moves in and out, calm, easy, like air moving through a forest at dusk. In and out. With each exhale, feel yourself sinking just a little deeper into the surface beneath you. Supported. Held. Long ago, in the old mountains and valleys, people knew that every plant had a story. They believed that the leaves, the roots, the bark, the flowers, each carried a small piece of wisdom, a kind of medicine. Not only for the body, but for the mind, and the spirit, as well. They also said that there were helpers. Tiny beings. Quiet workers. The little men who make medicine. They were not doctors in coats. They were not loud or proud. They were small and patient and always busy. Working mostly at night, when the world was still. This is how one healer came to know them. In a small frontier cabin, or a Cherokee lodge, whichever you prefer to see, there lived a healer. You might picture her as a woman, with strong hands and gentle eyes. Or as an old man, with a weathered face and a calm voice. However you see them, they carried the responsibility of caring for others. When someone was ill, they came to this healer. When someone's sleep was troubled. When someone's heart was heavy with worry. They came with questions, and pain, and hope. The healer listened. They gathered herbs. They boiled roots. They whispered quiet prayers, and sang soft songs. Day after day, they did this. And they were glad to help. But some nights, when everyone else had gone home, and the fire was burning low, The healer felt tired. Not just in the body, but in the mind. So many needs. So many remedies to remember. So many paths through the forest, each leading to a different plant, a different medicine. One such night, after tending to a child with fever, and an elder with aching joints, and a hunter with a twisted ankle, the healer sat alone by the hearth. The fire had burned down. Only coals glowed in the ashes. The room was quiet. Outside, crickets sang, and a night bird called, then fell silent. The healer's eyes grew heavy. They meant to stand. To lay out herbs for the morning. To tidy their tools. But instead, they leaned back in their chair, just for a moment. Just to rest their eyes. Just to slow their thoughts. The moment stretched. Their breathing deepened. The line between waking and dreaming grew thin, like a veil. And in that gentle in-between, they heard it. A soft, tiny shuffling. Like many small feet, moving across a wooden floor. They did not startle. They did not jolt awake. They simply drifted a little closer to awareness. Enough to notice, but not enough to break the spell. The room around them felt the same. The coals still glowed. The air was still warm. But now, past the edge of sleep, little figures appeared. No taller than the length of a hand from wrist to fingertip. They stepped from the shadows, at the edge of the hearth. Each one wore clothing made of leaves, stitched together with fine strands of grass. Some had tiny belts, woven from spider silk. Their hair was dark and glossy. Their faces were lined, not with age alone, but with concentration. Each of them carried something. Bundles of dried plants. Small roots tied with twine. Scraps of bark, curled like scrolls. Tiny pots, filled with powdered herbs. The healer watched, still half asleep, half awake. Their body felt heavy and relaxed. Only their mind floated, light and observant. The little men moved in a circle around the hearth. They spoke to each other in voices no louder than the whisper of leaves. The healer could not understand the words, but they understood the meaning. Work, care, balance. One of the little men carried a sprig of something green, with small, white flowers. He held it up, and the others nodded. Together, they stepped toward the healer. Not afraid. Not bold. Simply calm. The one with the sprig looked up, and though his voice was small, it was clear. This one, he seemed to say, is for calming the mind. It grows near the water, where the ground is damp. When people come with worries that keep them from sleep, you can brew its leaves. Soft and slow. It reminds the heart how to loosen its grip. He turned and pointed with his tiny hand. In the healer's mind, an image bloomed. A stream not far from the village. Its banks lined with stones. At one bend, where the water swirled a little deeper, a patch of plants grew. Green stalks, bearing clusters of tiny white blossoms. The healer recognized the spot. They had walked by it many times, but never stopped to really see those plants. The little man lowered the sprig. Another stepped forward. This one carried a twist of pale bark, thin and curling. This one, he seemed to say, is for easing pain. It lives on the tall trees near the ridge. When someone's body aches from long work or age, you can peel a little of this. Not too much. Boil it gently. Its strength will move through their blood and soften what hurts. Again, the little man showed the healer with a picture. A steep hillside. Strong trees reaching toward the sky. One particular kind, with smooth gray bark. Near a certain bend in the path, the healer saw themselves, standing there, hand on the trunk. Taking only what was needed. Thanking the tree. More little men came. Each with a different plant. A root, knotted and dark, good for fevers. A cluster of berries, to strengthen those who were weak. A fragrant leaf, to clear tight chests and lungs. With each offering, they gave the healer a map. Not drawn on paper, but planted in the mind. A memory of where each plant lived. What it needed. How it looked in spring. In summer. In fall. They spoke, too, of balance. Every medicine. Their small voices seemed to say. Begins with listening. The plants listen to the earth. You must listen to the plants. And to the people who come to you. If you listen, they will tell you what is needed. If you hurry, or worry, you may forget, and take too much. Or mix what does not wish to be mixed. The healer felt no shame. Only gratitude. These little men were not scolding. They were sharing. They were making the healer's burden lighter. Not by doing the work for them, but by showing that help existed in the quiet places. They circled the hearth many times. Each pass adding another piece of knowledge. Another small comfort. Another bit of trust. The healer's body sank even deeper into the chair. Their breathing matched the rhythm of the little men's small feet. Soft. Even. Steady. At last, when the work was done, the little men stepped back. They placed the last of their herbs on the hearthstone. Then they bowed, in tiny, graceful arcs. One by one, they turned. And stepped back into the shadows. Back into the cracks between floorboards. Back into the spaces between logs. Back into the world just beyond sight. The room returned to its ordinary quiet. The coals glowed. The night sounds murmured. And the healer slipped fully into sleep. When morning came, they woke, feeling rested in a way they had not felt in many months. Their body was still tired from work. But their mind was clear. Their heart was lighter. They remembered the dream. Not in perfect detail, but in enough. Enough to recall the stream bank, with its white-flowered plants. Enough to recall the hillside, with its smooth gray trees. Enough to recall the little men's gentle reminder. To listen. To take only what was needed. To honor the balance. That day, the healer walked. They followed the image in their mind. They came to the stream. And there, just as shown, were the green stalks, crowned with clusters of delicate white blooms. They knelt. Touched the leaves. Smelled the faint, calming scent. They harvested a few, with care. They thanked the earth. Later, they climbed the hillside. Ran their fingers along the bark they had seen in their dream. Took only a little. Prepared it in water. When people arrived with pain, with worry, with restless sleep, the healer shared the plants. And watched, over time, as faces softened, as breathing eased, as shoulders lowered. They knew, then, the dream had not been just a dream. It had been a visit. From the little men who make medicine. From that day forward, whenever they felt overwhelmed by the many needs around them, whenever they wondered if they knew enough, if they could help enough, they would sit quietly by the fire, close their eyes, and imagine those tiny figures, busy in the shadows, sorting herbs, carrying roots, walking the paths between the human world and the world of plants. They would remember, I am not alone. The medicine does not come from me. It comes from the earth. I am only a listener. A helper among many helpers. Now, as you lie here, listening to the fire in your own mind, you can borrow that comfort. You may not be a healer of others, but your body knows how to heal itself. Every night, while you sleep, tiny workers in your cells repair, restore, rebuild. There are little helpers inside you, not with faces and leaf clothes, but in the form of immune cells, of gentle hormones, of quiet chemical messengers, all of them working together to mend what the day has worn down. You do not have to direct them. You do not have to supervise. You simply have to give them time and rest. Think of your breath now as a kind of medicine. In and out. Slow. Smooth. Every inhale brings in what is needed. Every exhale lets go of what is no longer useful. You do not have to force anything. You do not have to fix anything by thinking harder. Tonight, your mind can be like the healer's mind, resting in the chair. Half awake, half in dream. Trusting that the little men are at work. Trusting that the plants are growing in their own time. Trusting that your body knows more than your thoughts. As you breathe, skin your body gently. Notice your forehead. Let it smooth. Notice your eyes. Let them be soft, heavy, closed, or closing. Notice your jaw. Let it loosen, so there is space between your teeth. Notice your neck and shoulders. Let them fall, as if someone has just taken a heavy pack from your back. Notice your chest. Feel it rise and fall. Easy. Unforced. Notice your belly. Let it soften. No need to hold it in. No need to guard. Notice your hands. Uncurl your fingers, if they are tight. Let them rest, open, or loosely folded. Notice your legs. Feel their weight. Let them be as heavy as logs, lying by the fire, waiting to be slowly turned to embers. The little men who make medicine continue their work in the world of story. The little healers in your body continue their work in the world of cells. Both need the same thing from you. Stillness. Time. Trust. You do not have to think your way into healing. You only need to allow. As the healer allowed, in their chair. As they surrendered to the half-dream and the visit of their tiny teachers. The fire in your mind burns low. Its light is gentle now. Its sound is soft. If thoughts arrive, you can treat them like bundles of herbs on a table. You do not need to pick them all up. You do not need to sort them tonight. You can leave them to be tended in another moment. For now, you simply breathe. In and out. Let the edges of your awareness blur, like a dream fading at sunrise. The world beyond your room can wait. The tasks and worries can wait. Inside this circle of warmth and story, there is only one task. To rest. To be a patient in the oldest sense. One who simply waits and allows. While the medicine is made. While the little helpers work. You can drift now. Like a leaf in a slow river. Like smoke rising from a quiet fire. No effort. No destination. Just upward. Or downward. Into sleep. Gentle. Deep. Restful. Tonight, as the embers glow deeper and redder, we turn from the quiet makers of medicine to the silent keepers of the trees. Tonight's tale is the story of the forest guardians. You are still here, by the same imagined fire. The logs have settled into a gentle bed of coals. Now and then, a small flame rises, then folds back in. Soft light breathes across bark and branch, across cabin wall, or campsite stone. Let that light touch you too. Imagine it warming your cheeks, your hands, your chest. Feel the weight beneath your body, steady, unmoving, like the earth itself. Let your breath fall into that same steadiness. In and out. Slow. Quiet. The night around your fire is wide. Beyond the circle of light, the forest stands. Tall trunks. Dark shapes. A living wall of wood and shadow. In the old days, people knew these trees were not just scenery. They were beings. Old. Patient. And in their own way, protective. They spoke of forest guardians. Spirits that moved within trunks and roots. Watchers who stood between the small, soft bodies of humans and the wild, restless world. This is how one family came to feel them. Imagine a small clearing, somewhere in the American woods. Perhaps in the Appalachians. Perhaps in a quiet stand of pines out west. Wherever you choose. The ground there is flat enough for a camp. The trees form a loose ring around it, like tall, silent sentries. In that clearing, a family has come to spend the night. Their wagon is unharnessed. Their horses graze nearby, their breaths steaming softly in the cool air. A simple fire burns in the center, casting golden circles on faces and on trunks. They have eaten. They have told simple stories. One by one, they lie down on bedrolls, or on piles of blankets, near the warmth. Soon, all are asleep. Except one. A child, perhaps. Or the youngest adult. Someone who is not quite ready to close their eyes. They lie on their back, looking up. Above them, beyond the reach of the firelight, tree branches weave together. Patches of sky show through, dotted with a few steady stars. The air is full of small sounds. Crickets. The crackle of the fire. The soft snort of a horse turning in its sleep. The tiny rustle of leaves, as a breeze stirs the canopy. At first, the watcher feels a little uneasy. The forest at night can seem large, mysterious, full of places where the light does not reach. Their thoughts begin to wander. What might be out there, in the dark? What might move between those trunks? What might be watching? Their breath grows a little shorter. Their chest feels a bit tight. They listen harder. Every snap of twig, every flutter of wing, feels sharp. Their eyes strain to see beyond the ring of light. For a moment, the forest feels like a wall of unknown. Then, something shifts. Not in the trees. In their perception. As they look, a new feeling rises. Not fear. Not imagination of dangers. But the sense that the trees themselves are the ones watching. Not with hunger. Not with hostility. But with attention. As if each trunk is an old, steady being. Standing its place. Quietly aware of the small cluster of sleeping humans at its center. The watcher breathes out, a little longer than before. Their shoulders ease, just a bit. They notice how still the trees are. Even when the breeze moves their leaves, their bodies do not flinch. They do not jump at small sounds. They stand. And have stood, for many years. Through storms. Through winter snows. Through summer heat. Through days of birdsong, and nights of quiet. The watcher imagines, for a moment, that inside each trunk, there is a presence. A guardian. Not a ghost. Not a face. More like a deep, patient awareness. Rooted from earth to sky. One such guardian might be standing just behind them. They imagine its long body rising up, bark rough and solid. Roots spreading out like fingers, gripping the soil. Branches reaching overhead, forming a roof of leaves. They picture that guardian, leaning in just slightly. Not touching. Not crowding. Just bending, to wrap its shape around the little circle of camp. Like a gentle, protective arm. As they imagine this, the night feels different. The darkness between trunks no longer seems empty. It seems full of quiet strength. Full of presence. If anything moves out there, the watcher thinks. The trees will know. The rustle will pass through leaves. The vibration will travel down roots. The forest guardians will feel it. And if danger comes, they may groan, or creak, or shift, to warn. But right now, the trees are still. The trunks are calm. The branches sway only a little. There is no alarm. Only watchfulness. The watcher's breath lengthens again. In and out. They begin to feel less like a small creature exposed, and more like a child, tucked into a great, living house. The forest is the walls. The canopy is the roof. The earth is the floor. The fire is the hearth. They remember stories, told by elders, of how trees share food through their roots, of how they signal each other when insects attack, of how older trees shade the younger ones. Whether those stories were perfectly told or full of mystery, the feeling beneath them is the same. The forest is a community. And tonight, for this brief moment, the little camp is included. The watcher imagines the guardians, speaking in slow, woody voices, to one another. More small ones, at our feet tonight. Keep the wind gentle. Keep the night mild. Let them rest. One tree might say to another, I will block the stronger gusts. You catch the heavy drops, if rain comes. A third might answer, I will muffle the noises from beyond. Let their ears be filled only with crickets and the crackle of the fire. These are not words really spoken. Just the feeling that the forest can cooperate, and that tonight, its cooperation is to offer peace. The watcher feels a looseness in their own body. Their hands relax. Their jaw softens. Their eyes, which had been wide and alert, begin to droop. Above, the branches sway, like slow, dark waves. The stars blink, steady and patient. They take a breath, as deep as they can, without effort. Then let it pour out of them. Like water from a ladle. The forest guardians hold their silent posts. And the watcher, at last, closes their eyes. The fire burns lower. The clearing grows dimmer. The trees lean in, and stand, and stand, and stand. Later that night, perhaps a fox passes at the edge of the clearing. Or a deer. They pause. Sniff the air. See the glow. Hear the breathing of humans. They skirt around. Gliding between trunks. The trees receive them. But do not let them startle the sleepers. The forest knows how to move around a resting body. It has done so for as long as animals have curled up under its boughs. Now, bring your awareness back, gently, to your own surroundings. You may not be in a literal forest. You may be in a room. 4 walls. A ceiling. A floor. But the feeling can be the same. Imagine, around your bed, or your couch, or wherever you rest, there are tall, quiet guardians. You might picture them as trees. Their trunks rising up at the corners of the room. Their branches spreading across the ceiling. Or you might picture them as pillars of soft light, reaching from floor to ceiling. Either way, they stand. They do not sleep. They do not tire. They simply exist, quietly, keeping their gentle watch. Outside, the world may be busy. Things may move. Noises may come and go. But inside this small circle, around your body, everything is still. You are wrapped in a living shelter. You do not have to be alert for every sound. You do not have to track every movement. The guardians can do that. If anything truly needed your attention, they would let you know. For now, their stillness is a signal. There is nothing you must do. No danger to prepare for. No decision to make. You can rest, as the family in the clearing rested. As animals beneath branches have rested, for thousands of years. Feel your own branches, your arms, grow heavy and relaxed. Feel your own trunk, your torso, sink into the support beneath it. Feel your own roots, your legs and feet, stretching down into the bed, becoming steady and still. You are your own little tree, held among the larger trees. Supported and surrounded. The fire in your imagination is now low. A soft orange glow. Barely flickering. Enough to warm. Not enough to wake. If thoughts drift in about tomorrow, about tasks, about what you should have said, or what you might need to do, notice them. Then let them drift out again. As if carried away by a slow wind moving through the forest. The guardians do not chase every leaf that falls. They simply stand. And let the leaves come and go. You can do the same with thoughts. They come. They go. And you remain. Breathing. Resting. Safe. Picture once more those tall trunks encircling you. Their roots deep. Their crowns high. They have seen storms. They have held firm through winds and rains and snows. Tonight, there is no storm in your room. But even if there is a storm outside, the feeling inside can be calm. Because you are not facing it, alone and exposed. You are like that child in the clearing, curled close to the fire, with an entire forest standing guard. Let that image sink in. Let it become real in your body. Your muscles release. Your heartbeat slows. Your breath moves like wind through high branches. Soft. Continuous. Soothing. The forest guardians, remain where they are. They do not need thanks. They do not need to be seen. They are content simply to stand. And because they stand, you can lie down. Because they keep watch, you can finally let go. If your eyes are not already closed, you may allow them to close now. Let darkness come gently. Not as an empty space, but as a deep, protective shade. Like the cool under a great tree on a summer afternoon. You are sheltered. You are held. You are one small, beloved presence in a much larger, patient world. The fire's last ember glows. The forest's tall shapes fade. And you can drift now, quietly, slowly, into deep, steady rest. Tonight, as the fire burns low and steady, we turn from the gentle forest guardians to the oldest sleepers of all. Tonight's tale is the story of the stone giants who sleep under mountains. You are still here, in the same circle of warmth. The flames are smaller now. Mostly embers, glowing softly, breathing light in and out, in a slow, steady rhythm. Let your breath match that rhythm. In and out. Gentle. Unforced. Feel the weight beneath your body, solid, unmoving, like bedrock. Imagine that beneath your mattress, beneath the floor, beneath the soil itself, there is stone. Ancient. Heavy. Perfectly still. Long ago, the old storytellers said that the mountains were once living giants. Great beings, taller than the tallest trees. With shoulders as broad as valleys. With feet that could cross rivers in a single step. They roamed the land, before there were cabins, before there were fences, before there were roads. Their bodies were made of rock and crystal. Their hair was forests. Their breath was wind. They walked slowly, so slowly, that a human lifetime was like a heartbeat to them. Over ages, they grew tired. Not with the sharp tiredness of a long day, but with the deep, peaceful tiredness of a life fully lived. One by one, they looked for a place to lie down. One giant found a stretch of land, where the sky was wide, and the rivers clear. They lowered themselves, carefully. Knees bending, back leaning, until their body rested along the earth. Their spine became a long ridge. Their shoulders became rounded hills. Their folded legs became valleys and passes. They closed their stony eyes and slipped into a sleep so deep that seasons passed like breaths. Another giant lay down nearby. Their chest rose into a high peak. Their arms stretched out as long rolling foothills. Their hair, once flowing forests, became the trees that grew on slopes and summits. Over time, more giants lay down, until the land was full of their resting shapes. People came later. They saw only mountains. But the old ones, who listened to the land, still called them the stone giants. They said, "When you walk in the high places, when you lie down in a valley, You are on the bodies of sleeping giants. Do not fear them. They are peaceful. They hold you. Imagine now one such giant beneath you. Not in a frightening way. Not looming. Just vast. Steady. Sleeping. Your body, small and soft, rests on their broad chest. You might be lying where their heart once beat. Now, that heart is slow. So slow that its rhythm can only be felt as the tiniest, occasional tremor. A deep, geological sigh. They do not toss. They do not turn. They do not fidget. They have settled into a stillness it will take ages to move. Their breath is the wind that sometimes flows over hills. Tonight, that wind is gentle. Barely there. You are safe. A traveler, in the time of the early frontier, learned this feeling. He had been walking all day, through a narrow mountain pass. The path twisted between steep slopes. Loose rocks shifted underfoot. Sometimes, the drop on one side was sudden. He walked carefully. But by the time the sun leaned low, his legs ached. His back was sore. His eyes were tired from watching the trail. He needed a place to rest. He rounded a bend. There, he found a wide, flat place. A sort of natural shelf, part way up the slope. It was covered in soft grasses. A few small bushes. And ringed on one side, by a wall of stone. He dropped his pack. Rolled his shoulders. And decided to spend the night there. He gathered a few fallen branches. Built a small fire. Just enough to keep him warm. As the flames rose, he felt, for the first time all day, truly still. Above him, the sky turned from blue to purple to a deep velvet scattered with stars. The dark shapes of higher peaks stood against that sky like distant waves. He ate a simple meal. Then stretched out on his blanket. The rock shelf felt firm and cool beneath the thin padding. But not uncomfortable. After hours of shifting ground and narrow ledges, the steady flatness felt like a gift. He lay on his back. Hands folded over his chest. Watching the stars. The fire cracked softly beside him. He listened to that sound. Into his own breath. In and out. In and out. A thought crept in. As he looked at the mountains around him. What if? He wondered. These are not just piles of stone. What if they are sleeping bodies of something bigger and older than I can imagine? The idea did not frighten him. It brought, strangely, a sense of comfort. If the mountains were sleeping giants, then he was like a small bird resting on their shoulder. Or a leaf resting on their hand. They were not going to roll over suddenly. They were not going to leap up and walk away. They were too deeply asleep. Their sleep was the foundation of everything. He imagined the giant beneath him. Long ago, deciding to rest. Kneeling down. stretching out their great body, letting their weight settle, feeling the earth rise up to meet them. He imagined the giant exhaling one last great breath. That breath becoming a wind that moved across the land for days. And then, stillness. The giant's thoughts quieted. Their concerns faded. They gave up being awake. They surrendered to being stone, to being mountain, to being home for others. Now, he lay on that same chest. His heartbeat, tiny and quick, compared to the giant's one, slow, almost non-existent pulse. He placed his palm flat on the ground. The rock felt cool, solid, unyielding. He pressed a little harder, as if trying to feel, through the stone, into whatever lay beneath. Of course, he felt no physical beat. But in his imagination, he sensed a deep, deep calm. So deep, it barely felt like anything at all. Like sinking into quiet water, so still that you cannot tell where your skin ends and the water begins. He let that feeling rise up, through his hand, into his arm, into his chest, taking his own quick, buzzing thoughts, and slowing them. His breath followed. Longer inhales, longer exhales. His muscles loosened, one by one. First his jaw, then his neck, then his shoulders, then the muscles along his spine, which had worked all day to keep him upright on the steep path. They softened. They let go. He felt as if he were not lying on the earth, but in it, cradled in a hollow of ancient stone, held in a palm, big enough to cradle forests, and rivers, and valleys. The small worries that had nipped at him during the day. The question of weather. The question of wolves. The question of the next day's miles. Seemed smaller now. Not gone. Just shrunk. Compared to the size of the giant beneath him. The giant had seen storms far greater than any that might blow that night. The giant had felt winters come and go. Had felt rivers carve canyons in its own side. Had watched forests grow, burn, and grow again. Whatever came tomorrow, the giant would still be there. Sleeping. And if the giant could sleep through all of that, then perhaps he could sleep through one night of small uncertainties. He took in another breath. Let it out. The stars above him blurred, as his eyes grew heavy. He closed them. The last thing he felt, before sleep took him, was the cool, unshakable presence of the stone, under his body. Holding him. Without effort. Without thought. When he woke in the morning, the fire had burned down completely. Only faint ash remained. The air was brisk. The sky was pale with first light. He sat up. Looked around. The mountains were the same. Slow. Silent. As if they had not even noticed his presence. He smiled. Thanked the stone beneath him. And went on his way. He carried that feeling with him for the rest of his life. Whenever fear rose, whenever his mind raced at night, he would picture himself, again, lying on the chest of a stone giant. He would remember that something huge and ancient could sleep without worry. And it helped him loosen his own grip on the thoughts that kept him awake. Now, you can borrow that feeling right where you are. You do not need to go to a mountain pass. You do not need to find a rock shelf. You only need your imagination and your breath. Close your eyes, if they are not closed already, or let them grow heavy. Imagine, beneath you, not just a bed or a floor, but layers of stone, going down and down. And somewhere, far below, the gentle rise of a giant's chest. You are lying there. Small. Safe. Held. The giant is so large that your weight is like the weight of a feather. It does not disturb their sleep. If anything, it is welcome. Like a small, warm bird resting on a shoulder. With your next breath in, imagine drawing up some of that deep stillness from the stone beneath you. Let it fill your lungs. Let it spread through your ribs. Let it move into your shoulders, your arms, your hands. With your breath out, let it flow down to your belly, your hips, your legs, your feet. Every exhale is like sinking a little deeper into the giant's embrace. There is no edge, no danger, no drop. Only support. Everywhere. Thoughts may still try to rise. Did I remember to? What about tomorrow? What if? You can acknowledge them. And then lay them gently on the stone beside you. The giant can hold them for the night. They will not be lost. You can pick them up again in the morning if you truly need them. For now, your mind can be as heavy and as quiet as rock. Not dull. Just still. No need to move. No need to respond. No need to plan. The stone giant does not plan. The giant simply is. And in this moment, you are allowed to simply be, too. Feel how heavy your limbs can become when you stop asking them to do anything. Your arms, like fallen branches, resting on the forest floor. Your legs, like logs, laid side by side. Your spine, stretched along the curve of the earth. Your head, cradled, as if in a small hollow of stone. Your breath, in and out, is the only movement. Soft, quiet, sufficient. If you like, you can imagine that the giant beneath you dreams. Not dreams like ours, with scenes and characters, but slow, drifting impressions of snow melting, of rivers rising, of trees putting out leaves, of stars wheeling overhead. These dreams are so slow that they feel like stillness. You are now part of that dream. A small, glowing spark of life resting on the giant's chest. Safe in a story much larger than your own worries. Whatever tomorrow brings can wait until tomorrow. Tonight, the only thing asked of you, by the giant, by the earth, by your own body, is to rest. To give your weight. To give your thoughts to the stone. And to let sleep come. As slowly and as surely as mountains forming. You are held. You are grounded. You are allowed to let go and drift now down into deep, deep rest.